Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a worth the buy or not foundation review on the brand new, well, I mean it's not brand new because it came out like 2 or 3 months ago, but it's fairly new, Kevyn Aucoin Foundation Balm. So I mentioned this in my haul video that I did with my Sephora sale products, and I purchased this, got lost in the mail, and I was like, F it. Then I tried to get it again, wasn't able to get it, and I guess third time's a charm because now I have it right here in my hands and I'm ready to give you guys all the good information and whether this is worth your cash or not. So let's just go ahead and dive into this. This is the foundation balm that is supposed to be a very different life-changing product. This did retail for, let's see, it's an expensive product, it's not cheap. So this foundation did retail for $52, but like I mentioned, I got this during Sephora sale, so I was probably able to get a little bit of a discount. So it is a full coverage foundation with an innovative silky balm texture. It has hyaluronic acid to give you guys a great, beautiful, flawless finish, and it has an extended shade range, which it's not bad of a shade range, nothing like extreme, but I was able to pick out my shade with the shade finder here on the Sephora app. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my phone down, and I just want to go and open this. Ooh, okay, I'm actually excited about this. So I have to put into consideration that you get this brush and it feels very soft. So I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do is do one side with this brush and then the other side with the sponge, which I don't know how it's gonna go with the sponge just because it does say to use with a brush. But you guys know I like to test out both. If it doesn't go well, then I can just go back in with a brush. But we'll see. Right now, my rosacea is getting a little flared up again. I don't know why, but we'll figure it out. So this is what it looks like. Like this. I purchased this in the shade EF08. And this is what it looks like on the inside. I'm hoping that this is good. It's supposed to work best for normal, combination, and oily skin. So it doesn't say anything about dry skin, so I'm assuming that this is gonna give me a matte finish. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is take my Kokie Cosmetics primers. I've been so obsessed with these two in combination. First, I'm gonna go in with the Kokie Blurring Primer. This one is amazing. That jelly-like formula is just giving me all the good. I feel like it's hydrating my skin because it goes on like this gel-like consistency. But then once it sets into the skin, it definitely does a good job of just blurring out the imperfections. I'm mainly targeting that on my rosacea because I do have some bumpiness going on because it did flare up a little bit. So I kind of just wanted to like smooth it over. Now I'm going to be going in with the So Matte Primer by Kokie Cosmetics. And this one I just target it in the areas where I get really oily. And this is kind of more of like a smooth, like velvety, creamy consistency. And I'm just putting that on the T-zone. And you can find these primers at your local Rite Aid. They are drugstore and they are very affordable. You can also go on Kokie Cosmetics website. And if you use my coupon code, you can save 25% off, which I mean, that's bomb. And my code is THEMEXICANBEAUTYY. So now we're gonna move on to the foundation now that we have both of our primers on the skin. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start off on this side right here, and we're gonna be using our brush. So like I mentioned, you do get a little brush with the foundation. This is from Kevyn Aucoin, and it feels really soft. It feels like great quality, because sometimes the brushes that you can get with products can just feel super cheap and just but this feels like something that I see myself using, or like even like for traveling purposes, this is a really good brush. I'm gonna go ahead and just swirl this around because it tells you to swirl it. And I have that much product. Oh my gosh, this feels so velvety. That is definitely full coverage. Wow, I didn't expect it to be this full coverage. It definitely does look light though. This is what it matched me to. I did see Kristen Dominique talk about this in one of her tutorials, and the color that she first got out was really light. I find that with these type of balm foundations, because I've tried other balm foundations, they tend to run lighter. So you have to kind of go up in shade, even if you feel like the shade may be too dark for you, or you may be like, oh, that's not my shade. I go usually for this shade. I feel like this is one of those foundations that you have to kind of like go a shade up, because right now I look a little, and luckily for her, she had like PR, so she could just go like switch out the shade, but this is the only shade I got. We're gonna make it work because I'm gonna go ahead and bronze up. But I do have to say, I am very impressed with the fact that it looks so full coverage. When you swirl it, you get that maximum capacity. I feel like some people were having issues with it because they were just kind of going like that, but in the directions on how to use, it tells you to swirl it and then apply it in the center of your face and then work outwards. I mean, that was full coverage. Like, I don't need to go in with more product. I'm gonna kind of drag it downwards so it kind of blends in. You can see the difference between my skin and the foundation. Definitely lighter. And it's crazy because I always use the shade finder on Sephora's app. And this time around, I feel like it was a little off, but I don't think it's a shade finder because I always use it and I never have an issue. I think it's just that with these types of foundations, it tends to be a little bit more on the lighter side and a little bit more on like that like neutral side. Like it just looks like very neutralized, like kind of dull. Like you have to go in with bronzer, you have to go in with blush and with concealer for you to kind of like see the whole thing come together. So we'll have to see with that. But I have to say that when I started applying it on the skin, I was so impressed with how velvety it felt, how smooth. It didn't feel like you had anything on. It does feel sticky though, so I'm not the biggest fan of that. It feels a little wet, but I'm hoping that it'll dry down, and it does transfer. So you just have to be careful that when you first apply it, you're not like going in to hug your husband or your friend, your daughter, whatever. So we're gonna put the brush to the side. The brush also feels fantastic. Like it applied this really well, super full coverage. I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. sponge. It actually isn't that bad. I was kind of scared that it was going to be like a complete fail, but it actually does not look bad with the sponge. Only thing I have to say with the sponge is that I feel like sponge will give you more of a sheer finish. It's more natural, like you can still see my redness peeking through, but it doesn't look bad. It's not like, oh my God, like this applied terribly. It just is a different type of finish, and I think it's because it's also a damp sponge. You can tell the difference right away. Full coverage with the brush, more of a natural finish with the sponge. So, I mean, I think it looks nice either or. I feel like if you're somebody that really likes a natural finish but you still want some coverage, you will definitely like it with the sponge. If you're going for that full coverage glam, like you're going out, the brush is gonna be your best friend. Taking a little bit more, and my best suggestion when using this is swirl it. Don't just tap into it, because if you just tap into it, you're not going to get that product activated. I feel like when you swirl balms is when you really activate what's in there. So I'm just going to apply this all over. Yeah, my forehead's the part of my face that's really evened out in like skin tone and doesn't really have any blemishes. So I find that for me, the forehead, I can really get like good coverage, as you can see, and it just looks great. I definitely do feel like the foundation is a matte finish, because right now I don't see like shine on my face. It just looks like a matte finish. But I do want to add a little bit more in the cheek area, because I feel like the cheeks definitely need a little bit more product. Just because you guys know my rosacea, that's definitely what I want to cover. So I didn't take too much because I don't think the cheeks need that much. I definitely feel like this foundation isn't one for people that have dry skin. I mean, it doesn't say for dry skin, it literally says for normal combination oily skin. I feel like for somebody with dry skin, it will cling on. Just because I feel like this balm consistency, yes, it's very nice and smooth, like on somebody that has a lot of like oil production, but I feel like on somebody that has dryness, it's going to just cling on to textures. And the reason I say that is because I don't have necessarily dry skin, but with my rosacea, I tend to have a little bit of dryness on the cheek area, like right here, and I see it clinging onto those areas and kind of separating. Now, it's not like necessarily enhancing my texture, which I appreciate, but I think a lot of that is also my Cookie Cosmetics blurring primer. That stuff is phenomenal. Because I feel like this side looks a little bit more better, and it's kind of interesting because I feel like the side with the sponge looks a little bit more like separating, like especially right here. And I'll bring you guys in close for like my natural lighting check-in for that. But I feel like on this side, it looks a little bit more perfected where we went in with a brush. I would honestly say that if you are going to be using this foundation, use it with the brush that it comes with. And I barely ever say use with the tool that it comes with because usually it's shitty, but this is actually a good brush and I definitely see myself using it. I feel like this brush was specifically made to work with this type of foundation. Definitely giving the brush a big thumbs up because this side looks great. It looks a little bit better than the side with the sponge, but I do think that if you want a more natural finish or you kind of want to see where it's going to go with it, then I would go in with the sponge. The good thing about this foundation though is that it comes with a brush, so you automatically get both of them, so it's not like you have to go out and buy the brush. Because, I mean, a lot of us probably wouldn't buy the brush and we're already spending $52 on a foundation. So this is pretty much what it looks like right now. Like I said, it is lighter than I thought it would be. I thought it would be like the perfect match, but it is a little bit lighter. So I'm going to go ahead, bronze up, conceal, and do all that fun stuff. Try to make it just work with what I have right now. I'm sure that like maybe by the end of December, this will be more of a better match for me, like for my true winter shade, because right now I feel like I'm kind of like stepping into my winter shade. But I think that it's definitely a little bit more light, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with the formulation of the foundation. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this face and come back looking a little bit better, and then we can go ahead and start our day and see where this foundation takes us, because I'm curious. Very curious. Hey guys, so I am back. I finished my entire face of makeup. All the details will be listed down below in my description box. I want to talk about the foundation because I feel like I have some interesting things going on here. This foundation is making me feel a little tiny bit itchy, like especially on these areas. It's not like super duper intense, but it's like a little tingle. But I do want to talk about how everything laid on top. So I feel like when I was going in with my bronzer, I used my Fenty Beauty bronzer. It was kind of separating. I don't know if it was the brush that was kind of like making it separate, but down here it was separating a little bit. So what I decided to do was end up going in with a cream product. So I went in with my Wet n Wild stick, contour stick, and I used that around my face just to warm it up a little bit because you guys saw that the foundation was a little bit off. So I applied it, and I feel like on my forehead, right in this area, I was kind of getting like a little bit of a helmet head. Like it wasn't blending into the foundation. It was just kind of laying on top. So I wasn't a really big fan of that. As for the blush, that went on fine. I had no worries about that. But I do have to say that it looks very dry and kind of separating in the areas where I do have some dryness right now. I think it's good that this isn't a foundation targeted or claims to be targeted to dry skin people, because I feel like dry skin people will not like this. I also feel like people with combination skin may not like this either, because if you have combination skin, you probably have like an oily T-zone and then maybe dry areas on your face. I feel like for me right now, my rosacea area is a little bit dry, and I just see it look a little bit flaky in that area. And I don't necessarily like that. I also feel like on top of that, it kind of looks like I have makeup on. So I would say if you are using this foundation and you come across that issue, but you still like the formula foundation, I would recommend going in with the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray, because it will make sure that your foundation kind of sinks in with your skin and becomes one and looks just very nice and pretty. Like I mentioned, right now it's the beginning of the day. Usually by the end of the day, I'm like dewy. I have some sort of dewiness, so I think that it'll absorb right into the skin. So I'm not going to be using this today, especially because I do want to see how this foundation wears on its own without like a setting spray or anything like that. So I just want to see its full potential, but I'm not a big fan of this dry area right here on the rosacea, because if you are talking to me like face to face, you can definitely see those little details, and it just doesn't look pretty. It doesn't lay pretty. So that's something to note. I think this foundation is definitely directed towards that person that wants that matte finish. But speaking of matte finish, we have to now see how it's gonna wear for the rest of the day. So right now it is 9:30 a.m. I'm gonna go and carry on with the rest of my day. I'll probably be back around maybe 6-ish, and we can go ahead and discuss our final thoughts and see if this foundation is staying matte or if it gets dewy or if it gets really crazy dewy. We'll see what happens with it, which is why I love doing these wear tests. But so far, I'm kind of about it. I feel like for $52, I'm not sure right now, but we'll have to see. We will have to see how that does. So I'll be seeing you guys soon, and stay tuned for my In Natural Lighting check-in and then my final thoughts. So if you want to keep watching, then please do so, because I think you're going to want to see if this is worth the buy or not. Okay guys, so I am back after a long day. It is about to be 7 p.m. at night, and I wanted to give you guys my last final check-in and whether or not this Kevyn Aucoin foundation is worth the buy or not. So I have it on my skin, as you can see, and I have to say I'm kind of impressed with the fact that it's not as dewy as I personally thought it would get. It's very minimum for how long it's been, and I haven't blotted or anything. This is literally without any blotting whatsoever, so I'm impressed with that aspect of it. I do feel like this is a true matte foundation, but I have to say, if you aren't very, very oily, you will not like this. If you have dry patches, I'm letting you know it's going to cling onto those dry patches, because I have some right here in my rosacea and it does not look pretty. I feel like this foundation balm is for people that have very smooth skin, skin that just doesn't really have texture, because I feel like because it is a balm, balms can sometimes enhance certain textures. At the beginning of the day, it felt very lightweight, but I feel like now it's starting to feel a little bit heavy on me in terms of especially in the areas where my texture is, I feel like it's a little bit heavier, and it's still kind of irritating me a little bit on these edges. It's nothing too crazy, but it's still a little tingle. It did come and go through the day, so I'm just ready to take off this makeup. But I do have to say, I do feel like for how long it's been, I definitely, am impressed with the fact that it's not as oily as it could have been, or as I'm used to with other foundations. So that's the only thing. But honestly, for $52, if I'm just rating $52 for the formula of the product, I don't think it's anything life-changing. Yes, it did feel really nice on the skin when I applied it, but I feel like once it kind of went on the skin and everything, it just didn't lay as pretty as I would have hoped for, considering how soft and velvety it felt. So I feel like for the formula-wise, $52, I just don't think that's worth it to me. There's so many other foundations that are really, really good quality. But I think that you're also getting a brush, which, kind of makes up for that price. And it kind of all adds up together. Now, I do have to say, I see myself using this brush because I feel like it's really nice. Even if I wanted to use it to blot my oils through the day, you saw, just kind of clean those oils up right now. But I like this brush. I actually like the brush more than I like the foundation. Overall, I would say for me, it's not worth the buy. It wasn't anything life-changing. It wasn't anything that I'm oh my God. The only cool thing about it, like I mentioned, was the fact that I was able to wear it for quite a few hours without it getting too oily, and also this little brush. So those are all my personal thoughts. I want to know what your personal thoughts are on this Kevyn Aucoin foundation balm. Will you be purchasing or will you be passing? Let me know down below. I love having conversation with you guys because you guys are the best people ever. If you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. I hope that you enjoyed this video enough to stick around, because I wouldn't want you guys to leave my channel without subscribing, because I know I bring you guys some really good content. While you're at it, don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you never miss one of these videos, because I always got you. I save your pockets a lot of times, and I'm trying to continue doing that for you. So that being said, I love you guys so much. Let me see you guys very, very soon for a brand new video. Bye, guys.